So here's my first question. Why run for governor of Sao Paulo and not for president?
Well, it was a decision of my party, PSDB. We have already candidate for a Brazilian presidency, is Geraldo Alckmin, the former governor of Sao Paulo. They decide also to invite myself to go to the elections in the state of Sao Paulo. That's the reason.
Might you have to reconsider, or perhaps better phrased, might the party have to reconsider, given that Mr. Alckmin, who is not only your friend but your political mentor, is doing so poorly in the polls?
Well, no way. I will still keep my decision to run for a governor of Sao Paulo and to support Mr. Alckmin for the presidency of Brazil.
No way means never?
Never.
Why?
Well, I have to keep my decision and also to support Mr. Alckmin on his decision. And the decision is not just belong to him, it's the party decision.
Yes, I realize it's
and I have to
complicated.
respect that.
Now, he has the support of a very large party. All the money and the machinery behind it. Why is he doing so poorly?
Well, we have time to grow. The election in Brazil is step by step, and every day is a long day. So the elections will be on October 7. Until there, we have an eternity. So we have time to grow. We have time to support Mr. Alckmin.
Time to do what, though? What if support for Mr. Alckmin does not improve? What's Plan B?
It's not Plan B, it's Plan A. We have to get other parties together. We have to make a coalition. This is so important to put 3, 4, 5, 6 parties together, and we have to talk to become this coalition and to put Mr. Alckmin as a candidate of this. But we have to talk in politics, talk, and then to decide, and then to run, and then to win.
Now, again, I'm speaking in hypotheticals here, but if the coalition either doesn't get behind Mr. Alckmin, or Mr. Alckmin's situation doesn't improve, even with the coalition, what do you do then? Is there an alternative?
Well, Erik, once again, from myself, I am very focused. You know that I came from the private sector. So all my life, what I decided, I run and I keep on mind. I keep my decision to get the goal. The objective from myself is the state government. And also, I will support in Sao Paulo state the Alckmin candidature to the Brazilian presidency. In Sao Paulo state, we have 1/3 of the all electors in Brazil. Is very strong, so it's very important.
Why is it that the two, call it fringe candidates, Ciro Gomes on the one side and Jair Bolsonaro on the other side, are doing so well? Why are they so popular? How do you explain that?
Extreme left and extreme right. Well, they're making campaign almost a year and a half. And it makes difference when we start very early. But the campaign in Brazil, Erik, is a television campaign. And the television campaign, we start just in August. In August, we have 45 days in strong propaganda on television. And this election will be once again decided by television. Of course, with good candidates. But the television will influence and make the decision of millions of the Brazilians on the next elections.
Is Jair Bolsonaro Brazil's Donald Trump?
I don't know. Jair Bolsonaro is Jair Bolsonaro.
He's in a class by himself. What happens, tell me, if either one of those candidates ends up winning?
Well, I don't expect that.
I know. I realize that.
You know. But I expect to have...
But it's an important what if, don't you think?
Well, I prefer to be optimist, and as an optimist as I am, I prefer to consider Geraldo Alckmin to be our president of Brazil.
Course.
No plan B, no plan C, just plan G, Geraldo.
What's at stake for the economy?
Well, the economy is running well, as you know, in Brazil. We have the inflation under control. We are growing again after almost 4 years of depression. the actual government is doing a good job in terms of the economy.
So let's consider for a moment this nightmare scenario. Given that you're a former businessman turned politician, given what the current government has done for the economy, which you just described, which of those two is the worse evil? Who would you choose if forced to make that decision?
Next question.
No, in all seriousness, no. It's important for Brazilians to understand this.
Yeah.
If you had to take a Ciro Gomes or a Jair Bolsonaro and compare them to Lula or Dilma, what are we talking about?
Both are the wrong way, Erik. Both are the wrong way. We still have campaign ahead. We still have time ahead. We have to make a confidence in a good candidate. In my opinion, once again, the good candidate is Geraldo Alckmin, and also the coalition of other parties to be together on that. We still have time to do that. That's the point.
If that's to be the case, does the PSDB and the coalition you're trying to build need to take a more populist turn to recapture the momentum?
This is the roast way.
The worst way?
This is the roast way,
Why?
I repeat it. Because we don't need populism in Brazil. We need...
But your candidate needs to get elected.
Well, but tell the truth. We need jobs, we need employment, we need development. We need to support private investment in Brazil, not populism. That we got this experience with Lula and Dilma. It was a disaster to Brazil. Why to get this flag again? We don't need that. And Mr. Alckmin, we don't have this kind of flag to lie to the people. This is not the way.
So you describe Lula and Dilma as a disaster.
Completely.
Would the election of either Gomes or Bolsonaro be
disaster.
Another disaster?
Another disaster.
What would happen to Brazil?
Well, we have elections.
No, what would happen? Why do you say it's a disaster?
Disaster because it's a populism on the right or on the left. So this is not the way that mostly of the Brazilians expect of Brazil, and even the public opinion in Brazil and in international public opinion. So once again, we have time to move. We have time to support Mr. Alckmin to be in the second turn of the elections in Brazil.
Let's talk about international opinion. Corruption in Brazilian politics is legendary. And thanks to the car wash scandal, Lava Jato, the whole world knows about it now.
But we are working on that.
How much corruption is there in this campaign? How much corruption will there be in this election?
Less than the last one. We are here in New York right now to honor the Judge Sérgio Moro. We have to support him because this man changed the justice in Brazil. Of course, not alone, but with others. And we have to say that, we have to mention that. But we are fighting against corruption. That's the truth. And Brazil is fighting against corruption. And we have the last president in jail. Lula is in jail. Others, governors, senators, deputies are in jail too. And even entrepreneurs and very famous people are in jail. So we are fighting against corruption in Brazil, in Rio.
Now you say there'll be less corruption, but that doesn't mean no corruption.
Well, even in the US you have corruption. Even in the developing countries you have corruption. We have to go against that every day, every hour, in every place.
Now tell me, if you're elected governor of the state of Sao Paulo, what's your number one priority?
Jobs. To get jobs to the people. That's the way.
An easy thing to say, a difficult thing to do. What do
it's
you
not
need
so
to
difficult.
do to create more jobs?
We have, making facilities to private investments. I don't believe that government has to be in front of that. Government has to facilitate, to stimulate investments, foreign investments, local investments, and give priority to that. And without bureaucracy and keeping the juridic laws and keep the law to help these companies to invest and to get jobs.
You have
to the
some
Brazilians.
very large state utilities, privatizing those utilities could generate a lot of revenue.
For sure.
And potentially
unlock
some employment potential.
For sure, and you are
how
right.
How high does privatization of those utilities rank on your list of things to do?
Well, in a high level, and we are studying that. We are planning to do that, and we hope to do that also. I believe strongly.
Over what period of time? If you're elected, how soon?
As short as possible, but you have to study and to plan well. I know privatization is very, very well done, and privatizations was a disaster also because it was without studies and plannings. We have even to do the right thing. It takes time to do that, studies to do that, and support to do that.
Would you at the very least commit to initiating the privatization process within your first year as governor?
Immediately.
Immediately?
Immediately.
So the time to study it is now, not while you're in office.
And of course when after elections too, but starting, because this is one of our goals for the campaign.
Any idea at this point, given the limited amount of study you've probably been able to do in the midst of your campaign, how much you could raise in these privatizations?
Well, we did that as a mayor of Sao Paulo. We started a big privatization program in the city, the largest ever, not just in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, in terms of the city. So I know what I am doing. I know this is good to Sao Paulo state, and also is good to Brazil also. So it's a decision, and we can have support to do that, to make on the best way. And Sao Paulo, I have to mention that Governor Alckmin, during his period as a governor of Sao Paulo, did a very good job in terms of concessions, PPPs, and also privatization. We do on the same way, maybe running a little bit more, but doing on the same way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A pleasure.